In this video, I am going to talk about how to fail your way to your weight loss goal. This is something that is so important to address. And for those of you who don't know me, if you're new to my channel, my name is Kelly Keelan, and I help women over 40 lose weight. And I especially help women who have been dieting or yo-yo dieting or struggling with their weight their whole life. And they have tried everything and it doesn't work. And I am really able to come in and find the missing pieces and give them the answers that they have been searching for years and years and show them that it's possible to get to their goal weight. But one of the things that I've found over the years of helping women is that learning how to fail your way to your weight loss goal is actually a skill that is required. And what happens for so many of us is that we start a weight loss plan or some diet and we do good for so long, maybe 2, 3 weeks, and then something happens, whether that's a life event, a stressor, an illness, a holiday, a vacation, something happens. We're not able to stick with our plan, and then we fail that diet or we quit that diet. So the two words fail and quit are something that is very important to differentiate, because part of the problem is that we use the words interchangeably, and I'm going to talk about that. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is I'm going to just kind of go through the process of what I take my clients to really help them actually take a failure, and instead of feeling hopeless about it, and instead of using it as a sign to just throw the towel in and quit, or instead of blaming the diet, or instead of blaming your life circumstance, to actually take that and turn it into something where you can actually get curious about and even excited. And I'm going to share that with you, especially at the very end of this. I'm really going to share some excitement you can actually get through failing. So if you think about it, what if you never quit the diet plan that you were on? Where would you be today if you just stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it? It's interesting to think about, right? Where would you be at your goal weight? You probably would. So if you never quit on your diet, then success or your goal weight is just inevitable. It's impossible for it not to happen, right? So that is what I teach my clients. And one way to think about this is there are so many things in our life that we expect to fail at. It's expected, and we just keep going and going and going until we master it. So it can be things from like learning to walk. When you were a small child, you failed, you fell down, and you didn't even think anything of it. You just kept going and going and going until you mastered it. And just with any other skill in your life, whether that be driving a car or a hobby, learning to cook, anything, you expect yourself to fail, and then you master it. So why is it that we don't look at weight loss the same way? And that's working against us when we don't look at weight loss the same way. Now, when we were younger, maybe it was easier for us to lose weight. And so we didn't really have to think of it in that way. But especially as women over 40, you must look at weight loss as a skill that you will fail and fail and fail at until it is mastered. So when I introduce this concept to my clients, for a lot of them, it is the missing piece. When they understand it, something clicks. And they're like, yeah, now I get it. And they're able just to keep going instead of quitting. And it's so exciting. And the other thing is, That's why it's so valuable to work with somebody alongside you in this journey, because sometimes it takes somebody skilled and trained like myself to really see what you can't see. And what I'm going to go through today is I'm actually going to provide real life examples that I see with my clients. And I also developed a process where you can take a failure and you can categorize it into one of three things to really, like I said, actually get really curious and even excited about your failures. So, what I think is interesting is if you look up the definition of quitting, it means to leave something permanently. So when you if you have a few bad days on your diet weight loss journey, what a lot of us do is we quit, which means that we just like turn our back on ourselves, or we just quit the diet altogether and then maybe try something new later on. So quitting is leaving something permanently. And that's why you haven't hit your goal weight yet, right? Because you quit. You leave it permanently. And the definition of failure is just omission of expected actions. So you're going about your diet plan and something unexpected happens, or you don't have your expected action that you thought was going to happen. That's all that failure means. It's just something that you didn't expect. So really, really, really important to separate those two instead of use them interchangeably. So if you take a look at what happened, so I'm going to give you just a scenario to kind of paint the picture. So let's say you've decided on a weight loss plan, a food plan, something that you want to try, and you're going along, everything is great, and then you hit maybe like week 2 or 3, and maybe it's a Friday night, and you were going to plan to eat something that was on your plan, and then something unexpected happens. So let's say you get invited out to a birthday party that you weren't expecting, and the food wasn't there, and so you had to eat the food that was at the party, and so you failed at that. And you have kind of guilt and shame around it. And without even knowing it, you take that guilt and shame with you into the next day. And now this is all done subconsciously, by the way. You might not even notice. So you wake up the next day, you have a little guilt and shame inside of you because of things didn't go as expected the night before. And when we have that guilt or shame or disappointment or whatever the emotion is, without even knowing it, we tend to take actions that kind of sabotage us. So let's say it's the next day and your plan was to have a salad for lunch, and then you realize that you don't have any of the stuff in the house that you need for the salad, and there's something else that is just easy to grab, and so you kind of go off your plan again on Saturday, piling on more disappointment, guilt, and shame. You've failed again, and then you carry that into the next day, and then you can kind of see where this goes. I know a lot of you can relate to this, and so then by Sunday, you just quit. You're like, this is too hard. I can't do this. Life circumstances get in the way. Maybe you blame it on family members or even a spouse, and you just quit. You turn your back on it, and you're done. So that is what happens over and over again. And I know that because I talk to so many of you, and it's the same story, just a little different flavor of the same story. But what if you took those failures that started on Friday, and instead of carrying that guilt or shame or disappointment with you into the next day, what if you stopped and actually got curious or even excited? It's possible, I promise. So this is where I'm going to categorize 3 failures into 3 different areas. And this is what I teach my clients, by the way. So this is really, really valuable information that I'm wanting to share with you today. And so I'm going to take you kind of through the process I take my clients through of the 3 different things you can do with failure. So failure number 1, I just call it a pivoting point. So something happens and you look at it as a pivoting point. And when you look at it that way, you get kind of curious. So an example of a pivoting point is just when you need to make kind of you find something happens and you just need to make a small tweak in what you're doing. So for example, let's say you're going about your plan, and let's say it's a Friday evening and you find yourself bored. And so you end up snacking because of boredom. Now, most people, when this happens, they start feeling disappointed and all the guilt and shame comes in. But what if you saw this as just a pivoting point and notice that you're eating when you are bored? So what does that mean? Why are you bored? You can kind of take a look at what's happening here where I'm using food to numb the emotion of boredom. And you can take it as an opportunity to look inward and really see what is actually going on. Is this a way that I want to live my life? That when I am bored, I turn towards food? What am I really wanting here? And it's a very insightful opportunity. So when my clients come to me and they're like, "Oh, I snacked and I see what happened. I was bored," and I can sense the disappointment in them, but I actually get excited for them because I'm like, "Oh, this is an opportunity for you to look at yourself. Why are you eating when you're bored? Why are you bored? What's wrong with boredom?" Or we can just take a lot of different approaches to it. But we just take that nighttime snacking and we're just going to pivot it a little bit, see what happened, and come up with a plan to really tackle it. And there's a lot of different ways. So if you can relate to this, please, definitely this is something what I can help you with. This is huge because, real quick, what I'm noticing is that what we want to do, what our brain wants to do, is blame the diet. So you find yourself in evening snacking because you're bored, but instead of addressing the boredom, you're like, well, the diet's just too strict and it's too hard to follow. And the food was right in front of me because my spouse brought it home. And so we just blame the diet or blame somebody else because it's easier to do that. So that's a lot of times what happens. But it really usually has nothing to do with the diet. So that's what I call a pivoting point failure. Okay, the second kind of failure is what I like to call just data, a collection of data. So you're going along, something happens, a failure happens, and we can just record it or use it as data. Now, an example of this is, let's say you are going about your diet plan, weight loss plan, and let's say it's been like 7, 8, 9 days, somewhere around there, and you haven't lost a single bit of weight. Or maybe you even gained weight. So a lot of people get super frustrated when this happens, and they feel the hopelessness, they feel disappointment. And remember, when you carry those emotions with you throughout the day, it only ends up working against you. So instead of carrying the disappointment and wanting to just kind of quit, you can actually get really curious when that happens. And it might be something like, maybe we need to tweak your food plan a little bit. Maybe we need to tweak your macros. Maybe we need to look at how many times a day you're eating, when you're eating, what's going on with your hormones. Let's use this as data. And it's really exciting because instead of blaming somebody, you can actually, once again, look inward and find out something interesting about yourself, your body, your hormones. Once again, you can actually get really curious and fascinated and learn from that failure. So can you kind of see now why failure actually isn't necessarily a negative thing? And that's kind of my mission, is to teach women that failure doesn't have to mean a negative word. It can just be a neutral or even a word of discovery, curious and fascination. So I really want to change the stigma around the word failure, especially when it comes to weight loss. Okay, so the third type of failure, and this is my favorite, by the way, and this is something I want to talk way more about, and that is failure. Take a failure and actually use it as a turning point in your life. So this is like a big turning point. And I want to share with you the biggest turning point failure that I see with my clients. It happens over and over again. And like I said, I'm going to be talking more about this because I can't believe how often it comes up. And that is, you have a failure. The failure that I'm talking about is people pleasing. And you wouldn't believe how much people pleasing is keeping you from losing weight. I promise in some way, shape, or form this applies to you. But when you can learn how to identify if you're people pleasing, what it means, and what to do about it, it will change your life. And a lot of people are doing it and they don't even know it. And one of the first ways to discover it is in the weight loss process. You discover you're a people pleaser, not only around food, but in all areas of your life. And this can be a huge light bulb moment. I have clients, like testimonial after testimonial after testimonial of turning points of failure that have completely changed the lives of my clients. And people pleasing, like I said, is the main one. And so I'm just going to talk just really briefly about people pleasing, because what it happens is it sounds pretty, right? So it's like, I went to my family's house, my extended family's house, for a celebration, and my mom cooked me my favorite casserole just for me. She cooked it just for me. And so I had to eat it because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, especially in this situation. I'm a really nice person. So naturally, I can't follow my plan in this situation, right? And it sounds so pretty and it sounds so genuine. Like, this is just how it's got to be because I'm a good person. But what you aren't seeing is that it's toxic to people please. I don't care if it's in weight loss or what, but it is not a pretty thing. It sounds pretty, but it's very toxic. So when you can learn how to stop the people pleasing, then a lot of times weight loss just becomes so much easier. And like I said, a lot of you can't see what you can't see. That's why it takes somebody like myself to really point this stuff out to you. But I can't tell you how much people pleasing is keeping you from losing weight in ways that you haven't even thought of, in ways that you haven't even seen. And when you can kind of take the weight loss part and fix the people pleasing in that area first, like start there, and then you can kind of use it and ripple out and really improve all areas of your life. So I have so many clients that not only reach their goal weight, but through that process of failing and failing and failing, they become a better version of themselves because they learned so much through the process of failure. When you learn how to fail forward, use it as a pivoting point, or use it as data collection, or use it as a whole turning point in your life, you become a better version of yourself. And sometimes the weight loss actually becomes secondary because you feel yourself just becoming so much of a better version of yourself, like I said. And especially as women over 40, a lot of us need kind of a makeover in our lives. We are in kind of a midlife crisis or a midlife transition, and we really feel stuck. We really feel stagnant. We really feel like something's off and we really don't know what to do about it. But so many of you can work through that midlife crisis through the weight loss journey. So then you end up at your goal weight, you feel amazing, you love the way you look in your clothes, you love the way you look in photos, and you have just up-leveled your life. So that is my favorite part of the weight loss journey, like I said, is to help you get to that and to see it. It's so exciting. So that is how to fail your way to success. And I would love to teach you how to do this more in depth. I would love to coach you one-on-one with your specific failures, because that is how my clients get the results. I work with you one-on-one. Let's look at your individual failures. Let's take a look at each one and get excited, get curious, and get fascinated by it. So if this is something that resonates with you, if you can tell that this is what you need, this might be the missing piece for you, I want you to enroll in my one-on-one weight loss program and work with me one-on-one. So I put the link in the comments here, and I will also put them in the show notes and in the comments. You just go to kellykeelan.com/apply, and I just have a questionnaire for you to fill out. Just tell me a little bit about yourself. It's really easy. And then we can kind of see if working together would be a really good fit. So if any of you have any questions really quick that if you want to ask me, please do so now. Since this is a live, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions, but I am really becoming passionate about failure and really redefining what that means when it comes to weight loss. Thank you, by the way, for all of your comments. Do you have any strategies for how to get out of people pleasing? What would I tell my mom about not eating her casserole? So yes, and this is something that I go into depth in my program. But the thing is, really quick, I'll give you just a really quick kind of synopsis of what people pleasing actually is. When you think about it and you really peel back the layers, people pleasing is actually lying and controlling, right? Because we are lying to somebody else because we want to control the experience that they have. So when you eat your mom's casserole and you really don't want to because you want to honor your plan, you're lying to her because you are trying to control the experience that she has. So what I always tell my clients in these situations where the casserole situation is, there really isn't a right or wrong answer to any of it. So it's not like there's a right answer or a wrong answer to how you handle this casserole situation. What I always tell my clients is, ask yourself why you are going to make the choice that you're going to make. So let's say you decide, all right, I see I'm people pleasing. I see it's lying and controlling. I'm still going to eat the casserole. Okay, that's fine. No judgment. But ask yourself, why are you doing it? And do you love your reason? And my guess is for most of you, you aren't going to love your reason because it's going to be, I want to lie to my mom because I want to control her experience. And, you're kind of turning your back on yourself just to control your, the experience that your mom has. And it's kind of like, do you like that reason? Is that how you want to live your life? For most of us, it's not. So that's how I would handle that. But very good question. So anybody else have any comments or questions? But otherwise, that's what I have for you today on failure. I would love to help any of you with your weight loss struggles. This is just one of the many, many areas that we would cover. So, all right, we will see you all in the next video.